John Wick Chapter 4 is set to debut on March 2023. It's a good time to look back at how far John Wick has come from the past 3 films, and for today's video, we're listing down the villains ranked by how close they came to killing John Wick. Do you have your guesses on who's included in today's list? Keep watching today's video to know more. As opposed to other John Wick villains like Iosef Tarasov and Santino D'Antonio, some of them, like Winston and the Shinobi, have come closer to killing Baba Yaga. Let's take a closer look at the others who've come close to finishing him. Starting today's list at the 10th spot, we have Iosef Tarasov. The bad guy that forces John Wick to come out of retirement and resume his career is Iosef Tarasov. Iosef, the spoiled son of a notorious crime leader, is used to having his way, so when John declines to sell him his automobile, he becomes furious, and in the dead of night, he enters John's home, brutally beats him, and kills his pet. Iosef desperately runs away from John throughout the remainder of the film while hiding behind a horde of goons. He never gets close to actually killing John. Iosef begs John for mercy when he has him surrounded, saying it was just a f***ing dog. John doesn't even give him a chance to finish his sentence before shooting him in the head. Next on this list we have Santino D'Antonio at the 9th spot. The main problem in John Wick Chapter 2 is that John promises to kill Santino D'Antonio's sister because he owes the Italian mafia lord a debt. The only time Santino gets near to murdering John is when he uses a grenade launcher to blow up his house, but John is pushed away from the blast. Santino's brilliant strategy is to escape to the Continental, where the rules forbid John from carrying out his heinous business, to avoid being killed by him. However, John doesn't let that deter him. He enters the hotel without hesitation and shoots Santino to death. Now on to the number 8 spot, we have the Elder. The Elder, the High Table's enigmatic leader, resides in the Moroccan deserts. He makes all of the High Table's decisions, upholds all of their stringent regulations, and directs the senior officials. Every assassin in the world is terrified of the Elder. But when John Wick is brought before him, instead of killing him, he makes him cut off his own finger as a sign of submission. Moving on to the next one on the list, we have the Adjudicator at the number 7 spot. The Adjudicator doesn't directly engage John in combat, but they do send a large number of goons into the Continental to carry out their orders. The Adjudicator is free to find the world's best assassins for the hit on John because they have the full weight of the High Table behind them. However, the Adjudicator still fails to kill John, just like all of his prior foes, despite having all these reinforcements working for them in exchange for a big wage. Continuing to the next villain, we have Cassian at the number 6 spot. Cassian, Gianna D'Antonio's personal bodyguard, is an assassin who was first introduced in John Wick Chapter 2. His prowess and skill set are practically equal to John's. They each match each other in their exchanges. They both quickly pull their firearms, shot each other several times, and manage to survive thanks to their body armor. Cassian is ultimately killed by John after he stabs him in the aorta, giving Cassian the option of holding the knife in or letting himself bleed to death for one last attempt to murder John. He decides to go with option 1. So what do you think about today's list so far? Do you have an idea who's included in the upper half of today's video? Keep watching to know more. Then finally, at the number 5 spot, we have Zero. One of the primary antagonists in John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, is Zero. Zero is one of many murderers employed by the High Table to assassinate John after he flees to Casablanca. By day, Zero is a street food sushi chef, and by night, he is a ruthless assassin. John disagrees, but Zero feels a connection with him because they are both masters of death. Zero claims it was an honor to be slain by John when John wins a fierce duel and drives a sword through his chest. Moving on to the number 4 spot in today's video, we have Viggo Tarasov. John is more in danger from Viggo Tarasov than from his son Iosef. Iosef depends on his father's good name, whereas Viggo built his own. He operates his own Russian mafia out of New York City, and when his enforcers aren't present, he's a tough opponent. After unceremoniously shooting and killing Iosef, John engages Viggo in a bloody final combat. Naturally, John prevails, but Viggo gets in a lot of effective jabs. Finally, we're in the top 3, and at the 3rd spot is none other than Ares. Ares, Santino's right-hand woman, shields him from John for as long as she can in Chapter 2 of John Wick. Ares and John engage in a bloody knife fight in the visually stunning Hall of Mirrors sequence of the movie. She surprises him by gravely injuring him, which is a feat that few of his foes manage. In contrast to his final battle with Cassian, John pulls the knife out of Ares' heart wound, ensuring that she will suffer a terrible end. Ares mockingly signals John, "Be seeing you," before passing away. Then, at number 2, we have Winston. Winston served as one of John Wick's most dependable and close friends in the first 2 John Wick films, as well as most of the third. He always gave John a place to go to feel comfortable because he was the owner of the New York Continental. But at the shocking cliffhanger finale of Parabellum, he adopted a malevolent persona. After defeating every mercenary the High Table sent into the hotel, John emerged onto the roof and was shot by Winston. Only John's plot armor allowed him to survive after he crashed into the ground in the nearby alley after falling off the roof. Finally, topping today's list of villains who almost killed John Wick is none other than the Shinobi. The secondary antagonists in John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum are known as the Shinobi, a pair of ninja assassins hired by the High Table to kill John. They are the only antagonists in the series with a realistic chance of succeeding in their mission. The Shinobi, who were taught by Zero, are admirers of the legendary Baba Yaga and take care to flatter him before engaging in a life-or-death battle with him. They actually win the duel and have the opportunity to murder John, but they show respect for him and wait till he has recovered. In other related news, a surprise plot for the upcoming film was disclosed in the current John Wick Chapter 4 trailer. Here's how it prepares for the potential 5th entry in the series. Although it's at least conceivable that John's story concludes in his subsequent film, a John Wick 5 hasn't been ruled out. There is at least a probability that the company will use Keanu Reeves' persona in another film. The John Wick 4 trailer gave a hint as to how the franchise can continue its plot. The conclusion of John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum hinted that John's next task would be to survive the impending conflict with the High Table. His objective isn't quite as lofty though, as some people had assumed. It made fitting that John Wick Chapter 4 would center on the protagonist taking down the organization, since the third movie had established him as being at odds with the High Table. The movie will instead center on John's efforts to win over the High Table. That implies the story about John actively combating them can wait until John Wick 5. If the High Table survives John Wick Chapter 4, then it could be used as a foundation for the 5th movie. According to reports, John Wick's strategy in the newest film is to defeat Bill Skarsgård's Marquis de Gramont in a one-on-one duel to persuade the High Table to leave him alone. In other words, John has not yet expressed a desire to destroy the High Table. The High Table remaining intact at the end of the film is therefore becoming increasingly likely, barring a plot twist in which John does succeed in wiping them off. The fact that the squad is still alive is encouraging for the possibility of a 5th John Wick film because it is essential to the lore of the series. This movie series would struggle to devise a plot with larger stakes for John Wick 5 if the High Table were to fall in John Wick 4. After all, the protagonist would be viewed as having to overcome the High Table because of its immense strength. The studio will have a strong justification for continuing John's story on the big screen as long as they're still alive, and John Wick 5 might be the film that finally pits Keanu Reeves' character against the High Table, based on how the events have developed and what has been shown in the trailer. And that wraps up today's episode about John Wick. What are you most looking forward to in John Wick Chapter 4? Let us know in the comments section below. Before you go, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel with the notification bell on for more videos like these. See you next time, and thanks for watching.